Today on the podcast, I want to talk about Meta's new approach to safety testing, which they say they are going to do and automate a lot of it using AI. The reason I want to cover this and talk a little bit about what Meta is doing is because I think this is indicative of what we're going to see from a ton of companies in the near future. OpenAI specifically has been really bogged down, and some people say they literally skip out on a bunch of safety testing due to how long it takes. And if AI can do this task, well, that would solve a massive problem and, speed up the time to actually get models into the hands of users. A lot of really exciting things. So I'm going to break down all of that, what's going on in the industry. Before I do, if you have ever wanted to try out a bunch of different AI models all in one place without having to pay subscriptions to everything, you can try them all out on my own startup, AI Box's Playground. This is a tool that I've recently launched that essentially allows you to use the top 40 so AI models all in one platform and compare the results side by side. So recently I asked it, what are the most useful tax write-offs most people don't know about? I live in Arizona and have a business. And of course, you could ask it anything. I got Grok to come up with a really long, in-depth answer. I also got ChatGPT 4.1 to come up with a long answer that was pretty impressive. Claude did not have a super in detailed, kind of had a couple bullet points of an answer. And then DeepSeek came up with a surprisingly detailed answer as well. So I think on this specific search that I did, I think Grok won with the most useful information. But I could compare all of the results side by side, scroll through them, read them all. And you could do this with image, with audio, with text. And then you can keep chatting right down into and get kind of all the context pulled into it in the same chat. So it's a really useful tool if you want to try out new tools, including, like we're talking about Meta today. If you want to try all of Meta's Llama models, we have Meta Llama models on here. We have Mistral, OpenAI, Qwen, NVIDIA, Microsoft, DeepSeek, Cohere, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, tons of really cool models. And of course, image, audio, all that other stuff as well. So check it out. It is aibox.ai. There is a link in the description. All right, let's get into what Meta is currently trying to do. So Meta essentially said that AI is going to power about 90% of the updates made to the Meta apps. So we're talking about Instagram, WhatsApp. This was kind of an internal document that I think got leaked, but they're going to be using AI to evaluate all of the potential harms and privacy risks that Meta has. And this is obviously a really big deal. They've had insane lawsuits and, multi-billion-dollar fines from the EU over all this kind of stuff. So this is something that they need to take seriously, and it costs a lot of money. And so in my opinion, I think what you get from a lot of the press, including probably TechCrunch, who I sourced for a lot of information on the story, is like, they'll talk about, oh man, they're using AI, so it's not going to be as good. So Meta doesn't take their privacy seriously, blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, using AI to do a lot of these things is actually superior to using a human to do a lot of them. It could be more thorough. It could be more rigorous. Obviously, you have to train it. You have to make sure it doesn't hallucinate. But if Meta creates AI and they're using that AI to do a very specific business function, they're going to make sure that it can do it very well to a very high level. And especially when the repercussions financially are billions of dollars, if they're choosing to use AI over a human for this specific task, this is obviously also a financial decision. So they're not just doing it for fun. They're doing it because this is probably going to, number one, save them money because it can catch more, and number two, prevent them from getting these massive fines. So I think that's kind of what the framework that I will use on it. Although everyone loves to dunk on Meta, whatever, I think it's probably a good idea. So all of this stems back to a 2020 or 2012 agreement between Facebook, which is obviously now Meta, and the FTC. So back then, it essentially required them that Facebook that they're going to have to conduct these privacy reviews of all of their products, and they had to evaluate the risk of any potential updates that they do. So if they're going to make an update, what are the risks of it? How is it going to impact privacy? Until now, that was all done by humans. So now they're changing that, and they're going to be doing it with AI. So under the new system, essentially what they're going to do is they're going to have their teams. They'll be asked to fill out kind of like a questionnaire about the work that they're doing. And then they're going to receive an instant decision with essentially an AI that identifies any risks along with any requirements that an update or feature need to meet before it actually launches. So if you're working on an update over at Meta, everything that you're updating, they had to, before, run it through like a privacy thing, that have someone do this. It's kind of like, I would imagine for them, it's annoying because it's just, or for the employees, because it's another layer of management that has to review every single thing you do. And you could say like, yes, so they have a lot of money and a lot of management. I have friends that work at Meta, And talking to them, I have heard this frustration where, and Google is not any different. So I'm not saying Meta's unique in this. All these big tech companies, it's frustrating for them sometimes coming from like a startup where they can make a big impact really quick. And obviously the startups get more leeway with regulators and stuff. So it's like it's a different beast. But when you get to the big company, it's kind of frustrating because when you're trying to exact change and actually make things happen, it's difficult because you have all of this management in the way, and every single decision has to go through a massive review process, and all these people have to look at it. And I think it's actually demoralizing to try to come up with innovation. And I feel like this is actually one of the reasons why Google fell behind early on with AI, and a lot of these big companies that were like, I mean, Apple even today, which seems hopelessly lost on the AI race, they feel so far behind. And I think a huge part of it is just like there is so much bureaucracy inside of these big organizations. It's a lot harder for them to move quickly. So I actually really am getting excited when I see these big organizations that are working with AI, using AI to actually cut down on the bureaucracy. And what's cool to me about this is, there's this whole regulation the FTC made. They're like, hey, Meta, every single time you make an update, you have to evaluate every single update for, the privacy implications. That's just like a whole bunch of extra work. Like they can afford it, they can do it, but it slows everything down. So now they've created something that speeds up the whole process. And what I love is it gives an instant decision. Essentially, it's like we're back to before they had to do that, except yes, every decision is getting checked, but it's not the cumbersome like process that took a lot of time. They just removed the time function from it. So a GPU spins up somewhere and evaluates what it is. So anyways, I'm very excited by that. And I hope a lot of people in the industry use that, even these big tech companies, to streamline their approach and bring innovation to us faster. As someone that uses all these AI tools, I would just want the best AI, the fastest. And I think tools like this are going to be awesome. So in all of this, essentially, Meta is going to be able to update a lot quicker. One quote unquote former executive that was talking to NPR also said that this creates higher risk, as negative externalities of product changes are less likely to be prevented before they start causing problems in the world. Okay, so there's the safety risk. They're concerned that the AI won't catch it. I'm pretty sure they've invested heavily into this. Meta said that they actually had invested over $8 billion into the privacy program. And I'm pretty sure if you're putting $8 billion in and you have billion-dollar fines from the EU, you're going to take it seriously. It's not like this is a magical wand to wave to try to get out of any sort of privacy things. They're just automating it. And I think automation is going to happen in a lot of places, and even regulated places. I'm excited when I see automation because I think it drives a lot of innovation. So I'm excited. This is the other thing that Meta said. They said, as risks evolve and our program matures, we enhance our process to better identify risks, streamline decision-making, and improve people's experience. We leverage technology to add consistency and predictability to low-risk decisions and rely on human expertise for rigorous assessments and oversight of novel or complex issues. This is the right approach here, right? Like, for really novel things, they're not going to just use the AI and be like, oh, hope it can figure this out, right? They'll still use like humans and whatnot, which also, by the way, can miss stuff. But for like the basic, like really easy, simple stuff, there is no reason to have a human reviewing all of this stuff that has very low risk. So I'm excited that they're using AI to do this. And I hope this is the start of a lot of different AI and tech companies automating the low risk functions first, and we'll work our way up to the high risk as these models get better and better. But the low risk functions first, and automate things so we get updates faster, and these companies can push out updates faster for their shareholders and everyone else. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really cool. Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast today. If you learned anything, or if you got anything out of this episode, I'd really appreciate a review on the podcast. And as always, make sure to go check out AIbox.ai if you want to try all of the top AI models for only $20 a month. So you can cancel your subscriptions to the 10 different platforms that cost $200 a month. Spend $20, get access to all of it over on AIbox.ai, and compare all of the models side by side. It's a AI model battle arena where you can really figure out what the best AI model is for every single use case: image, audio, text. It's all in there. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.